Well, hey guys, it's Darwin, and I just got back from my PCT section hike, like literally just got back, and unfortunately I'm not gonna have enough time this week to finish the video that I wanted to put out today for you guys. So instead, I decided to do a quick, random, off-the-cuff, impromptu, good old-fashioned Q&A, just like I used to back in the day. Remember that? I used to put one out like every single Tuesday. So I asked for your questions here on YouTube and over on Instagram, and just gonna answer a bunch of them. Super random, but why do you cut off the straps of your trekking poles? And do your hands ever hurt on thru hikes without them? Yeah, so I have taken these straps off of my trekking poles for years. I think the last time I had straps on there was on the AT in 2015. I've just never found a use for them. They've always just kind of gotten in the way of me grabbing my pole, so I remove them, whether it's an old pole or some of the new poles, and I actually don't cut them off. I take out the little pin, I take out the wedge in the strap, and I put them in a box just in case I want to use them in the future. But yeah, no real reason, I just don't like them and have never really found a use for them. And no, my hands do not hurt without them. What is the most underrated section of the PCT? Ooh, that's a hard one. But I'm gonna have to go with the Trinity Alps in Northern California, an absolutely gorgeous section that for some reason not a lot of people talk about. I think it's because everyone's so focused on the Sierra in California, so they don't really think about anything that comes after that or right before it. But I would also say the Cascades. I think that everyone focuses on the Sierra being the most beautiful place on the PCT. Hot take, it's not. I think it's the Cascades 100%. So I'm gonna have to go with the Trinity Alps and all of the Cascades. What's the best way you found to pack your backpack when having to check it in flying? So typically I do not check my backpack in when I'm going out for a trip. I'll bring it on as my carry-on and actually put it in the overhead bin. But lately, I've been flying with a lot more gear, doing some of these mountaineering trips, flying with big chunky boots like this, obviously wanting to take my trekking poles, ice axes, stuff like that. So I actually picked up one of these big gear duffels. This one is made by Mountain Hardware. I usually just put everything in this, I compress it, and then I check it in so I can get all of my gear to the same spot. Not too long ago, I made a video about how I fly with gear, whether it is backpacking gear, bikepacking gear, whatever it is. If you wanna check that out, I'll put it up here. I'll also put it down in the description, and you can just kind of see some of my tips and tricks of how I've always flown with my gear. Your favorite trails for beginner backpacking trips? That is a good question and a hard one to answer because it really depends on where you're at and what you want to hike. But I would highly suggest just using something like Google, getting on Google, typing in like the top 5 best backpacking trips in whatever area that you're in, and then using something like a navigation app or a hiking app. The one that I've been using over the past 6 months is called Onyx Backcountry. What I really like about Onyx is you can open it up, it will exactly find your location, and then you can hit discover, and it will bring up a massive list of a bunch of different trails and trips that are in your area, whether it's a day hike or a backpacking trip, a longer trip, like here we go, Arizona Trail Passage 33. It says that it's 15 miles. It gives me the elevation, gain and loss, how many hours it typically takes to do it, and then just gives me a bunch of different information about it. So this is a really good resource for people that are looking at what trails and what backpacking trips are in my area. I would highly suggest using something like that. I also recently did a video where I totally broke down how I plan, how I route, and how I navigate my backpacking trips. I'll put that up here. I'll also put it down in the description box. And if you're interested in checking out something like Onyx, I've recently partnered with them, and if you are thinking about getting an app like Onyx, you can get 20% off your membership if you use my link in the description box. So pretty good deal, and I would highly suggest it. It's great for beginners, especially trying to find what trails are in your area. When you're not outdoors, do you utilize the gym to prepare for upcoming excursions? Now I do. Back in the day when I was training for all those thru hikes, I didn't really spend a lot of time in the gym. I would typically just put my pack on, get out and hike, get my body used to the miles and the weight. But now, as I get older, I find that if I don't spend time in the gym building a good base and doing strength training, I'm a little more injury prone when I get out on the trail. The other thing I've been spending a lot of time in the gym doing is strength training for some of the more hardcore excursions that I have planned this year, like mountaineering. I've been getting out and just doing stuff like wearing my mountaineering boots at the gym and doing strength training, trying to get my legs nice and strong for carrying all that extra weight and moving on glaciers a lot faster with something like a big, heavy, clunky boot. So yeah, these days I do spend a lot of time in the gym. I just find that as I get older, it helps if I have that base strength training. How did you like the pump? So I would assume that you're talking about this little FlexTail Zero pump that I recently picked up. Took it out on my section hike at the PCT, have been using it a little before that, and I still haven't 100% decided if this is something I would use in the long term, like a 4 to 6 month through hike, but it's fine. It works well, it blows up my pad. I'm still not 100% convinced on the battery life that this thing claims, but I'm not ready to give my full-on opinion about it yet, but yeah, so far, it's pretty good. My boy E from Jersey, it has been a while, sir. Talk about nostalgia with the Q&A.
Yo, what up, Darwin? It's E from Jersey. Yo, Darwin, what up? E from Jersey.
CDT, AT, or PCT? That's a good question. If you would have asked me 6 months ago, really over the past 7 years, I would have said the AT was my favorite through hike. But the more time I spend out there, the more time I think about what I got from the trail, how it taught me who I was as a hiker and really tested my limits, the PCT. The PCT is probably the hike I would go do right now, again, no question. Mile for mile, it's just an amazing hike. You know, you've done it. The views are amazing, the challenges are amazing, the mountains are amazing, everything's great on the PCT. If I was gonna do one hike and one hike only, it'd be the PCT. How do you juggle home life and go on long distance hikes? Not very well, which is another reason I kind of stepped away from through hiking after the CDT in 2021. Another reason that I stepped away from the channel for a while, because for years, I'll be 100% honest, I neglected home life quite a bit. It is a balance, folks. You know, some people do a through hike like every 3 to 4 years, and I think that's a lot easier. I was kind of on this consistent path of 7 to 8 years of non-stop trails and trips and travel. Now I try to spend more time at home, and it's why I've started doing a lot of section hiking and doing these smaller trips, because one, I'm getting older, so it's getting harder to do these really long trails. It definitely takes its toll on my body a little bit more, but also it's so I have more time at home and can have a normal life and spend time with my wife that I've been married to for 16 years. So back in the day, I didn't juggle it so well. Now I'm trying to be much better about the time I spend on trail versus the time I spend at home. When will you be ready to quit through/section hiking, and what will you do afterwards? So kind of, I guess this relates to the last question. For right now, I guess you could say that I've kind of quit through hiking, or at least I've quit these big 4 to 6 month long sabbaticals, but section hiking, I don't know if I'll ever quit. I love section hiking. I love getting out on the trail. I still love backpacking and hiking, so I have no real desire to quit. And then I'm doing a lot of other things. You know, you ask what I would do if I wasn't doing that. I would be bikepacking. I'd be riding my bike. I would be mountaineering and spending time on the mountains. So, you know, getting out and doing section hiking right now is really great for me because I still get to do the thing that I love and that I've done for 8 years, but I also get to use that as good training to stay in shape, test gear, and stuff like that for some of these other things that I love doing. So as far as the big 4 to 6 month long sabbaticals, I have no plans on doing any of those anytime soon. As far as section hiking, a lot of it. And I'm gonna be doing a lot of it over this year, specifically on the PCT, which is why I just got back from that section. Did you need any type of permit for that first section? Nope. If you wanna hike a section of the PCT and it's under 500 miles, isn't in a national park or wilderness area, you do not need a permit. Is sacrificing small comforts, like a pillow, to save on weight really critical, or can weight, within reason, truly make or break an experience? That is a damn good question, and the only answer to that is it's all about balance. You know, going crazy ultralight so you can have a light pack is nice because you're not carrying that much, but sacrificing a bunch of comforts that are gonna help enhance your experience on the trail and make you more comfortable in the long run, is kind of stupid. So it really all comes down to that balance. You mentioned a pillow. I would never hike without a pillow just because I know it promotes better sleep and it makes me more comfortable on trail. Using something like a nice, cushy, fully inflated sleeping pad. But you know, that really comes down to why I would do something like buy a 14-ounce, $800 tent, because I want to shave that weight down on those bigger items and then be able to add that weight in other places. So doing the whole weight shaving is not necessarily so you can get everything as light as possible. For me, it more comes down to shaving that weight off certain items so you can add those comfort items in other places to make you more comfortable on the trail. Which route of the Highlander backpacking trips are you going to be a part of for those interested in joining and hiking with you? I saw they have options ranging from a 1-day trip to a 5-day trip. Yeah, so anybody that watched my last video will know that in June, I'm gonna be going out and doing an event called Highlander Big Bear in California that uses part of the PCT. So I'm gonna be doing the 5-day event, but if you're interested in doing just the 3-day event, basically what'll happen is you will meet with the 5-day people and so on and so forth. So no matter what option that you choose, you can still hike with me, whether it is the 5-day, the 3-day, the 2-day, or the 1-day. If you guys are interested in joining in on that hike, I will leave a link down below, and I hope to see you guys there. What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? What do you mean? An African or a European swallow? What would you say is the best piece of advice for a new thru hiker? Just get out there, don't overthink it. You'll figure it out as you go, and it's all a learning experience. Don't quit on a bad day. Do you see many older people on the AT/PCT? I'm in my early 30s and only discovered thru hiking a few years ago. As my wife and I were starting a family, now I'm probably going to be in my late 40s, early 50s when I'll have the opportunity to do a thru hike, and I'm concerned I won't get the chance to. Yeah, there's tons of different people from tons of different walks of life and tons of different ages on things like the AT and the PCT. In 2015, I hiked over 1,300 miles with a man named Rube that was in his early 60s. There's a lot of older folks out on trail, and 50 is not that old. The PCT tends to have a little bit of a younger crowd, but even then, I see a lot of older guys and women out on that trail. So no, 50 is not old. Age is but a number, my friend. All right, last question is, how do you feel about ultralight gear not always lasting as long as general outdoor gear? For instance, I sometimes feel bad about the fact I use 3 pairs of shoes a year and feel like it's bad for the environment we love so much. So I do not agree with that statement. Ultralight gear not lasting as long as regular outdoor gear. It all depends on who's using it and what it is. I mean, I can show you a tent that I have over 4,000 miles on and 200 plus nights on. The tent is still in great shape. This tent weighs just under 15 ounces and I have beat the crap out of it in the backcountry and it still works just fine. It still keeps me out of the rain and it still does what it was intended to do. Or a stove. The BRS ultralight stove, I've had this since early 2017. Yes, this is the same stove that was in that first video I made all the way back then. And I've used it on tons of hikes, multiple times, and it still works just like I bought it. And this thing weighs under an ounce. So it really depends on what the gear is and more importantly, who's using it. I know some people that destroy gear because they just don't take care of it. I like to take care of my gear and it lasts. This trekking pole, I've had this since 2016. Still works pretty damn well. So with the shoe thing, if I'm thinking about shoes and you're saying 3 pairs of shoes a year, if I go out and do a thru hike that is 4 to 6 months long and I'm going through 6 pairs of shoes, is that worse, or is driving my car back and forth to work 4 to 6 months out of the year worse? I think it's the car. So it's all subjective and I don't agree with that statement. All right, guys, there you go. A quick little impromptu off the cuff, quick fire Q&A, just like I used to. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you're interested in checking out Highlander and coming out and hiking with me, I'll put that link down below. Ooh, I'll also put a link down below to Onyx if that's something you're interested in checking out. And I hope to get this video out next week that I had planned for you guys today. Until next time, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're taking care of yourselves. I hope you're taking care of each other. I love you, and as always, thanks for watching.